The salt spray hit my face like a slap from an old lover, but it was the scream that ripped through the twilight, raw, guttural, like the ocean itself was tearing itself apart, that made my heart seize. I froze on the wet sand, board shorts clinging to my thighs, staring up at the Lifeguard tower where Nathan balanced on the edge, his broad shoulders heaving, one hand outstretched toward the churning void. "Jump if you love me," he bellowed into the storm, his voice cracking like thunder, and in that moment, I knew I'd follow him anywhere, even off the edge of the world. The scream echoed off the cliffs of Big Sur, California, where the Pacific didn't just meet the land, it devoured it. I'd come here to escape the grind of San Francisco's tech scene, trading algorithms for sun-bleached solitude. But now, as the first drops of rain pelted the dunes, I wondered if the ocean had other plans. Nathan's silhouette against the bruised sky was magnetic, a god forged from salt and sinew. His red Lifeguard tank top soaked translucent over the tattoos snaking up his arms. Anchors and waves, symbols of a life tethered to the tide. I didn't know his name then, just that he was the guy who'd saved my ass 2 summers ago when a riptide nearly claimed me off Monterey. I'd been 19, cocky on a borrowed surfboard, chasing the high of rebellion against my buttoned-up family back in Sacramento. He was 22, all easy grins and sun-kissed skin, hauling me onto the beach with a laugh that tasted like freedom. "Kid, the ocean don't care about your daddy issues," he'd said, pounding my back as I coughed up seawater. That was the spark, brief, flickering, gone by morning when he vanished into the horizon on his patrol jeep. Now, 3 years later, fate or folly had dragged me back to this stretch of coast, crashing at a rundown motel called the Driftwood Inn, where the neon sign buzzed like a dying heartbeat. I'd been running from a breakup with Alex, my college boyfriend who'd traded our shared dreams for a corner office and a wife-beater physique that screamed midlife crisis at 25. "You're too much, Jamie," he'd texted, the cowardice of pixels stinging worse than any wave. So here I was, 22 and adrift, sketching freelance graphics on my laptop by day and nursing IPAs at the local dive by night, pretending I wasn't scanning the beach for a ghost. That evening, the bar was packed with locals, fishermen with calloused hands, surfers with salt-crusted hair, and the occasional tourist chasing Instagram sunsets. I nursed my second beer at the scarred oak counter when the door slammed open, letting in a gust of brine and him. Nathan. Taller than I remembered, his frame filled the frame like he owned the room. Faded board shorts slung low on hips that spoke of endless patrols. His dark hair was cropped close, stubble shadowing a jaw that could cut glass, and those hazel eyes, storm-tossed, always scanning for trouble, locked onto mine across the haze of cigarette smoke. "Jamie? Holy shit. Is that you?" His voice cut through the din like a buoy bell, warm and rough as gravel under bare feet. He strode over, enveloping me in a bear hug that smelled of coconut sunscreen and something deeper, like pine from the inland trails. My pulse thrummed against his chest, memories flooding back. The way his hands had gripped my waist on that rescue, firm and unyielding. "Nathan," I managed, pulling back with a grin I hoped hid the flush creeping up my neck. "Yeah, it's me. Still allergic to riptides," he laughed, that same rumble that had haunted my quieter nights, and clapped my shoulder. "Allergic? Nah, you're a magnet. What brings you back to this godforsaken paradise?" We talked for hours, shots of tequila blurring the edges of caution. He was still lifeguarding, now head of the tower crew at Pfeiffer Beach, living in an Airstream trailer parked on the bluffs. Divorced from the sea, married to the job, his words, laced with a bitterness that tasted like regret. No mention of anyone else, no ring on his finger, just stories of rogue waves and midnight bonfires. By closing time, the rain had started, a soft patter against the tin roof, and he offered me a ride back to the motel in his battered Ford pickup. The cab was a time capsule, faded Grateful Dead stickers on the dash, a half-empty thermos of black coffee wedged in the cup holder, and his knee brushing mine as he shifted gears. The wipers slapped rhythmically, headlights carving tunnels through the downpour. "You know," he said, voice low over the engine's growl, "I never forgot that day. You looked at me like I was some kind of hero. You were," I whispered, the tequila loosening truths I'd buried. "Still are." He glanced over, eyes gleaming in the dashboard glow, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the space between us, charged, electric, inevitable. His hand found my thigh, thumb tracing a slow circle, and I leaned in, our lips meeting in a crash of heat and salt. It was messy, urgent, tongues tangling like kelp in the current, his stubble scraping my chin in the best kind of burn. When we broke apart, gasping, he murmured against my mouth, "My trailer's closer." "Stay?" I nodded, heart pounding like surf against the shore. The airstream was a silver bullet on the cliff's edge, waves whispering below like secrets. Inside, it was Spartan cot bed, mini fridge humming, posters of Hawaiian swells taped to plywood walls. We didn't speak. Words were for daylight. Clothes shed in a frenzy. His body a map of hard plains and faded scars from coral cuts and close calls. He was gentle at first, mapping my skin with calloused palms, lips trailing fire down my collarbone. But then hunger took over, his mouth on me, hot and insistent, drawing moans I couldn't stifle. We moved together like we'd rehearsed it in dreams, bodies slick with sweat and rain-tracked mud from our boots. He whispered my name like a prayer. "Jamie, fuck, Jamie," as I arched beneath him, nails digging into his back. It was more than sex. It was reclamation, two souls washing up on each other's shore after years adrift. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, his arm heavy across my waist, I traced the anchor tattoo on his bicep. "What's the story here?" I asked, voice thick with afterglow. He tensed, then sighed, pulling me closer. "My old man, Navy vet, beat the shit out of me when he found out about. Well, you know. Said I was his anchor, then cut the rope. Been drifting ever since." The confession hung heavy, vulnerability cracking his armor. I kissed the ink, tasting salt and sorrow. "You're not drifting anymore," I said softly. "Not if you don't want to be." Dawn crept in like a thief, painting the trailer in rose and gold. We made coffee on a hot plate, black and scalding, sipping it on folding chairs outside as gulls wheeled overhead. The beach stretched below, empty save for driftwood sculptures shaped by wind and whim. Nathan's hand found mine, fingers lacing tight. "This feels right, Jamie." Like the tide finally turned. For a week, it did. Days blurred into patrols and sketches. Me capturing his form against the breakers on my tablet. Him teaching me to read the water's moods. Nights were ours. Bonfires on the sand. His head in my lap as I read poetry from a battered Ginsberg volume. Stars pricking the velvet sky. We talked dreams. His of captaining a charter boat. Mine of illustrating graphic novels that captured the raw pulse of queer lives on the edge. Laughter came easy. Touches lingered. And for the first time since Alex, I felt anchored. but shadows lurked. John, Nathan's best friend and fellow lifeguard, showed up one afternoon, all easy charm and sun-bleached curls, clapping Nathan on the back with a familiarity that twisted something in my gut. "Who's the artist, Nate?" he asked, eyes appraising me over a shared beer. John was the golden boy ex-Marine, openly gay, with a laugh that disarmed and a body honed by CrossFit. Nathan introduced us casually, but John's gaze lingered, probing, like he saw the fragility in our fragile idol. That night, as Nathan slept, I scrolled old photos on my phone, lingering on one of him and John from a pride parade years back. Arms slung around each other, rainbow flags whipping in the wind. Pang hit me, not jealousy exactly, but the whisper of doubt. What if I was just the rebound? The summer fling before he settled back into safer waters? The first crack came on a sweltering Tuesday. Nathan's radio crackled during our picnic on the bluffs. Emergency at the cove. A family caught in a sneaker wave. He bolted, kissing me fierce and fast. "Wait here," he said. Hours passed. I paced the sand, heart in my throat, until his Jeep roared up, mud-splattered, him exhausted but whole. But his eyes were distant, haunted. "Kid drowned," he muttered, stripping off his wetsuit in the trailer, water pooling at his feet. "Little boy, same age as my nephew." Couldn't get to him in time. I held him as he shattered, sobs racking that unbreakable frame, my shirt soaked with more than seawater. "It's not your fault," I whispered, rocking him like a child. But in the quiet aftermath, as he stared at the ceiling, he pulled away. "What if it is? What if I'm cursed? Jamie, dragging everyone under with me?" The words lodged like barnacles, eroding our ease. He threw himself into shifts, avoiding the trailer, leaving me to sketch alone with the ghosts of what-ifs. John noticed, cornering me at the bar one night. "Nate's spiraling," he said, sliding me a whiskey. "The job eats him alive. And you're good for him, kid. But he don't know how to let good in without expecting the rip current." I nodded, throat tight, but John's hand on my arm lingered, warm and steady. "If you need an ear," he added, voice soft, "I'm here." It was innocent, or so I told myself, but the seed took root, comfort in the storm, a lifeline when the one I'd chosen frayed. By week's end, Nathan resurfaced, apologetic, pulling me into a bruising kiss on the beach at midnight. "I'm sorry," he growled against my neck, hands roaming possessive. "Let me make it up to you." We made love under the moon, desperate and devouring, but even as I cried out his name, doubt gnawed. Was this passion or penance? Love or just the illusion of it? Shimmering like heat on asphalt? Little did I know, the real storm was brewing inland, where secrets from Nathan's past washed up like debris after a hurricane. The California sun baked the bluffs into a golden haze, but inside the airstream, the air was thick with unspoken currents. Nathan had been pulling double shifts, his body a taut wire, but that morning he'd called in sick, rare for him, and we spent it tangled in the cot, lazy kisses evolving into something fiercer, his teeth grazing my shoulder as I gasped his name. "You're mine," he murmured, pinning my wrists above my head, hazel eyes fierce with possession. Thrilled me, that edge of dominance, but beneath it lurked a desperation, like he was marking territory against an invisible tide. We drove south that afternoon, windows down, Bruce Springsteen crooning Thunder Road from the crackling radio. Destination: Carmel by the Sea, a fairy tale town of storybook cottages and cobbled streets, where Nathan promised oysters and wine to wash away the week's grit. The highway hugged the coast, cliffs plunging to froth below, and his hand rested on my knee, thumb stroking absent patterns. "Ever think about staying?" he asked suddenly, voice casual but eyes fixed on the road. "For real? Not just summer." My heart stuttered. "You mean us here?" He nodded, jaw tight. "Yeah. Build something. A life." The words hung, heavy as fog, and I squeezed his hand, imagining it mornings in the trailer, evenings sketching while he grilled fish on the fire pit, weekends chasing swells together. "I'd like that," I said, voice thick. More than like. Carmel was magic. We wandered art galleries, his arm loose around my waist, ignoring the occasional side eye from blue hairs who clutched their pearls at two guys stealing kisses by the fountain. At a seaside bistro, we split a dozen Kumamotos, the briny pop bursting on my tongue like secrets. He fed me one, finger lingering on my lip, and whispered, "You taste like trouble." Laughter bubbled up, light and free, chasing shadows for a stolen afternoon. But reality crashed in like a rogue wave that evening. Back at the trailer, Nathan's phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from John, voicemails he ignored until the third, his face paling as he hit play. "Nate, his dad. I'm in Monterey General. Heart scare. Get your ass here." The color drained from his cheeks, hand trembling as he pocketed the phone. "I gotta go," he said, already yanking on jeans. I reached for him, but he shrugged it off. "Alone, Jamie." "Family shit." "Family?" I echoed, the word bitter. "He beat you, Nathan. For being you." "Why?" "Because he's dying." The shout echoed off the tin walls, raw and ragged. He raked hands through his hair, pacing like a caged shark. "And I'm the asshole son who ghosted him after everything. What if this is my last shot to say sorry, to fix it?" Guilt twisted in my gut. He was right. Blood was thicker. Messier. "Okay," I whispered, pulling him into a hug. "But call me. Anytime." He nodded against my shoulder, then was gone, taillights fading into the dusk. The trailer felt cavernous without him, waves mocking my solitude with their endless roar. I texted John, Nathan's dad in hospital. "Heading to Monterey. You know anything?" His reply was swift. "Shit. Yeah. Old man's been declining. Nate never talks about it. Want company? I'm off." I hesitated, fingers hovering. Company sounded like salvation, but John's easy affection gnawed at boundaries. "Sure. Meet at the bar in 30? The dive was dim, smelling of fried clams and regret. John already at our booth with 2 drafts foaming. "He'll be okay," he said, clinking glasses, his blue eyes steady. "Nate's tougher than he looks. Like that time in 19, when the swell hit 30 feet off Point Joe. Pulled 3 idiots from the foam without a scratch. We swapped stories, John's tour in Afghanistan, the buddies he'd lost, the pride flag he'd sewn into his rucksack, my Sacramento upbringing, Dad the accountant who pretended my sketches were hobbies, Mom's passive smiles hiding her own quiet queerness. The beer flowed, loosening tongues, and when John brushed my hand recounting a botched proposal to his ex, sparks jumped. Not the deep burn of Nathan, but a warm flicker, uncomplicated. "Listen," John said, leaning in, voice dropping. "Nate loves you. I see it. But he's scared shitless. That old man broke him, made him think love's a trapdoor. Don't let him push you off the edge. His words pierced, vulnerability mirroring my own fears. I nodded, throat tight, and when he pulled me into a hug goodbye, brotherly, firm, the contact lingered a beat too long, his breath warm on my neck. Just friends, I told myself, driving back in the rental, rain slicking the windshield like tears. Nathan didn't call that night, or the next. Texts went unanswered. You okay? Miss you. By dawn. Worry nod. So I drove to Monterey, the hospital a sterile monolith against the bay's sparkle. He was in the waiting room, slumped in vinyl chair, scrubs rumpled, eyes hollow. Jamie, he breathed, standing to crush me against him. God, I needed this. We sat, his head on my shoulder, as he spilled, the old man, grizzled at 68, tubes snaking from arms, muttering apologies in morphine haze. He said he was wrong, Nathan whispered, voice cracking. About me. About. Like it mattered now. I stroked his hair, murmuring comforts, but inside, resentment simmered. Why absolve the monster? Yet seeing Nathan's guarded hope, the boy he'd been mending in the man, softened me. It's closure, I said. You deserve that. We left together, stopping at a diner for pancakes drowned in syrup, the mundane anchoring us. But in the parking lot, his phone lit up. John. Tell him thanks for checking in, Nathan said, reading the text aloud, a shadow crossing his face. He called the ward. Got updates. Solid guy. Yeah, I agreed, stomach twisting. He is, back on the coast. Normalcy fractured further. Nathan dove into work with manic fervor, training rookies at dawn, patrolling till dusk, crashing into bed reeking of kelp and exhaustion. Intimacy waned, kisses turned pecks, touches fleeting. Tired, he'd mutter, rolling away, leaving me staring at the ceiling, tracing constellations in the dark. John became the buffer, inviting us to beach barbecues where his jokes pulled laughs from Nathan's lips, his presence a balm. One night, after too many Esmores and IPAs around the fire, Nathan passed out early, leaving John and me tending embers. He's pulling away, I confessed, poking sticks into glowing coals. Like I'm the wave he can't ride. John's gaze was kind, firelight dancing in his eyes. Give him time. Or, if it's too much, you got options. His hand covered mine on the log, squeezed gentle, and heat bloomed not just from the flames. I pulled back, mumbling good night, but sleep evaded, guilt and want warring in my chest. The betrayal brewed subtly, like undertow you don't feel till it drags you under. It started with a misplaced text, Nathan's phone buzzing while he showered, John's name flashing, missed you last patrol. Drinks later, just us. Innocent, probably, but the intimacy stung, echoing my own doubts. I confronted him that evening, words tumbling as we walked the tide pools, anemones pulsing like hearts. What's with you and John? Feels like I'm intruding. He stopped, waves lapping our ankles, face hardening. What the fuck? Jamie? He's my brother. Not brother. I laughed, bitter. You two got history. I saw the photos. Pride 19. Arms around each other like friends, he snapped, voice rising over the surf. Yeah, we hooked up once. Years ago. Drunk, stupid. Means nothing now. The admission landed like a gut punch. Air whooshing from lungs. Once? Or more? Jesus. You're paranoid. He turned away, fists clenched. This is why I don't let people in. They always drown in their own shit. He stormed off, leaving me knee-deep in receding tide, salt-stinging eyes. Hours later, he texted, sorry. Come home. I did, finding him on the cot, eyes red-rimmed. I love you, he said, pulling me down, kisses apologetic, bodies reuniting in frantic forgiveness. But the seed of doubt had sprouted, thorns pricking paradise. John texted the next day, heard you fought. Nate's an idiot. Talk to me. I deleted it, but the pull lingered, a siren's call in the storm. Little did I know, the tower, the very symbol of his vigilance, would become our precipice. The big sursummer thickened into August, air heavy with eucalyptus and the promise of wildfires inland. Nathan and I patched our rift with routine, morning runs along the coastal trail, where his strides matched mine, breaths sinking like heartbeats, afternoons sketching him on the tower, red tank vivid against azure sky, body coiled vigilant. Capture that, he'd call down, grinning, flexing for the lines I etched, powerful thighs, the V of his torso disappearing into shorts. Art blurred into foreplay. By sunset, we'd tumble into the trailer, sweat slick and insatiable, his growls against my ear erasing insecurities. But John's shadow loomed, a persistent fog. He invited us to a lifeguard luau at Andrew Malera State Park, hula skirts and Kahlua pig, ukuleles strumming under string lights. Team bonding, Nathan insisted, eyes pleading. For me, I went, stealing against the easy camaraderie, John's arm slinging over Nathan's shoulders as they roasted marshmallows, laughter booming. I hung back, nursing a Mai Tai, watching them, John's hand lingering on Nathan's knee during a story, the way Nathan leaned in, unguarded. Jealousy coiled, hot and irrational, but when John caught my eye across the fire, winking with that disarming charm, it twisted into something sharper, temptation. Later, as fireworks burst over the lagoon, he found me by the dunes. You look like you could use air, he said, voice low, offering a joint. We smoked in silence, smoke curling like questions, the ocean's murmur a confessor. Nate's lucky, John said finally, exhaling slow. You're real. Ground him. His fingers brushed mine passing the joint. Electric. And I didn't pull away. What about you? I asked, bold from the buzz. Who's grounding the golden boy? He chuckled, sad-edged. Myself, mostly. After the core, it's hard to trust the drop. Our eyes met, vulnerability mirroring, and when he leaned in slow, giving me space, I met him halfway. The kiss was soft, exploratory, tasting of pineapple and pine, worlds from Nathan's storm. Guilt surged, but so did need, a momentary anchor in choppy seas. We broke apart, breathless. Shit, I whispered. I can't. I know. John stepped back, hands raised. No strings. Just, if you need out, doors open. He vanished into the crowd, leaving me adrift, fireworks fading to ash. Nathan found me soon after, oblivious, pulling me into a dance as congas thrummed. Missed you, he murmured, hips grinding close, but his eyes were distant, scanning the dark like threats. That night, in the Jeep ride home, He confessed fragments. Dad's discharge from the hospital, a shaky truce over lukewarm coffee, but old wounds festering. He asked about you, Nathan said, hand tight on the wheel. Said I should bring you around. Like that fixes 40 years of bullshit. Pride swelled, mixed with pity. Would you want that? He shrugged, jaw ticking. Maybe. If we're solid. The if landed like driftwood, bruising. The next patrol day, I volunteered at the tower, handing up water bottles, logging radio chatter to bridge the gap. From the catwalk, the view was endless. Seals barking on rocks, whales breaching distant, Nathan below directing a drill, voice booming commands. Pride swelled, but so did unease. John's jeep idled nearby, him lounging against it, watching with folded arms. Trouble hit at noon. A distress call. Kayaker overturned in the kelp forest off Partington Cove. Nathan scrambled down the ladder, wetsuit zipping over bronzed skin, diving into the swell with the rescue sled. I held breath from the perch, binoculars trained, heart hammering as he battled whitecaps, muscles straining to haul the flailing man aboard. John motored out in the patrol boat, coordinating, their teamwork seamless, Nathan boosting the victim, John reeling line. They saved him, airlifting to safety, but back on shore, Nathan collapsed against the tower piling, vomiting seawater, body spent. I rushed down, wrapping him in a towel, but John got there first, murmuring low, hand on his back. Easy, brother. You nailed it. Nathan leaned into him, a shut, and something primal snapped in me. Possession, raw and ugly. I got it, I said, sharper than intended, pulling Nathan upright. John's brow arched, but he backed off, mounting the jeep with a nod. Call if you need backup. Nathan shrugged it off later, over burgers at the grill. Jealous much? He teased, but his laugh didn't reach eyes. John's family. Saved my ass more times than I can count. Family, I echoed, fork stabbing fries. Right? Like how he kissed me last night. The words exploded, silence crashing. Nathan's face cycled shock, hurt, fury. What the fuck did you say? Luau. Dunes. It was nothing, a kiss. But you and him? History. Texts. I see it. He shoved back from the table, chair scraping gravel. So you cheat to even the score? Classy. Jamie. His voice dripped venom. Hazel eyes storm-dark. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're poison. He stormed to the trailer, door slamming, leaving me under stars that mocked my mess. I followed, pounding fist on tin. Nathan, talk to me. Silence. Then go. Before we both drown. I didn't. Curled on the doorstep till dawn. Dew-soaking shorts. Replaying the betrayal mine. His. Ours. When he emerged, coffee in hand, eyes bloodshot, he sighed. This ain't working. You're seeing ghosts. I'm fighting demons. We need space. Space. The word choked. After everything, he cupped my face, thumb brushing lip, tender despite the wreckage. To miss each other. Figure out if this is love or just the high. His kiss was ghost soft, farewell wrapped in forgiveness. I packed the rental, sketches fluttering like wounded birds, driving north with the coast a blur through tears. San Francisco swallowed me. Freelance gigs in a Haight-Ashbury walk-up. Nights at the cafe with its rainbow flags and drag shows, burying ache in hookups that tasted like ash. Text to Nathan went unread. Miss the tower. Miss you. John's pinged back once, he's wrecked. Give him hell when you're ready. A month in, Dad called rare, his voice gruff over the line. Heard you're moping. Come home, son. Mom's worried. Sacramento was suburbia incarnate. Manicured lawns, barbecues where queerness was the elephant in khakis. But family pulled, so I went, enduring Mom's hugs and Dad's awkward pats, sketching in the garage amid tools and half-fixed lawnmowers. Nathan broke radio silence on a crisp October eve. Towers lonely without you. Drive down, heart leaping. I did. The 4-hour haul a pilgrimage. The trailer glowed welcoming, his arms crushing as I stepped out. Fool, he whispered, kissing deep, salt and need. We fell into bed, reunion fevered, his body claiming mine with urgent thrusts, moans mingling with waves. Never again, he vowed after, tracing my ribs. You're it, bliss rebuilt, fragile as sea glass. But John's luau kiss festered unspoken, a splinter under skin. When he showed at our first bonfire post-reunion, grinning, six-pack in hand, tension crackled. To second chances, he toasted, eyes on me, and Nathan clinked oblivious. But I saw the undercurrent, the trio's delicate balance teetering. Winter whispered in, storms lashing the coast, patrols grounding. We hunkered in the airstream, cooking chili on the stove, watching Brokeback Mountain on a bootleg DVD, tears tracking his cheeks at the end. That's us, he said, voice hoarse. Don't let go. I won't, I promised. But fate, that cruel curator, had other scripts. The call came February. Dad's cancer, stage 4, lungs riddled from years of camels. Nathan held me as I sobbed, his strength my harbor. We'll fight it, he said, driving us to Sacramento, hand steady on mine. The old man, Nathan's, not mine, welcomed us warily, chemo-bald head nodding from the hospice bed. Brought the boy, he rasped, eyeing me. Nathan squeezed my knee, bridge building in fractured light. But back on the bluffs, cracks widened. Nathan's shifts amped with spring swells, leaving me alone, sketches piling like unanswered prayers. John's visits increased, checking in, he'd say, lingering after Nathan crashed. One rainy afternoon, trailer empty, he cornered me by the sink. You deserve better than scraps, he murmured, close enough to feel his heat. I could give you steady. I shoved him back, anger flaring. Get out. This isn't a game, isn't it? His laugh was bitter. Nate's married to the sea. You'll always be the side quest. The door clicked shut behind him, but his words echoed, poison seeping. That night, Nathan sensed the shift, pulling confessions in the dark. He hit on you? That fucker. Fury boiled, but beneath fear. Am I enough? Really? Always? I lied, because truth was terror. The climax brewed with the season's king tide, full moon pulling monsters from the deep. April's fury hit Big Sur like a scorned lover, winds howling off the Pacific, whipping foam from crests that towered 30 feet. The tower crew was on high alert, Nathan coordinating from the watch post, radio crackling with updates. Riptide advisory. Point, sir. Keep swimmers clear. I watched from the bluffs, sketchpad forgotten, anxiety gnawing as his silhouette cut against lightning-veined skies. John patrolled the beach below, bullhorn blaring warnings, their brotherhood a bulwark against chaos. I'd forgiven the John incident or tried, burying it under layers of Nathan's devotion. Surprise sketches of us framed on the wall, a silver anchor necklace clasped around my throat, whispered "I love yous" before dawn patrols. But doubt lingered, a low-frequency hum, amplified by distance, his job pulling him under, my freelance deadlines tethering me to the laptop. "Promise you'll come back whole," I'd say, kissing him at the ladder's base, his grin masking the wear. That storm-ravaged afternoon, Dad's prognosis darkened. Weeks, not months. Nathan drove us east again, the Sierra Nevada a snowy sentinel, his hand my anchor through tear-streaked miles. Sacramento's hospital was a fluorescent purgatory, Mom's eyes hollow, Dad frail in the bed, oxygen hissing like accusations. "Proud of you, son," he wheezed, gripping my hand, words I'd craved from a man who'd once called my art fairy dust. Nathan stood sentinel, fetching coffees, his presence a quiet revolution, the son-in-law the old man never knew he needed. On the return, tragedy ambushed, a semi-hydroplaned on Highway 1, slamming Nathan's Jeep into the guardrail. Metal screamed, glass shattered. I blacked out to sirens. Woke in Monterey Yar, ribs cracked, Nathan beside me, miraculously unscathed, save a gash on his forehead stitched crooked. "Thought I lost you," he choked, kissing my knuckles, tears salting the foredrip. John arrived post-midnight, bearing burgers and bad jokes. Tough as kelp. "You too." His hug for Nathan was fierce, lingering, and in the morphine haze, I saw it clear, the triangle's fault lines, love tangled in loyalty. "Thanks, man," Nathan said, clapping his back. "Couldn't do this without you." Discharge brought bedrest in the trailer. Nathan doting, soups simmered, movies cued, his body my medicine in slow, healing intimacies. But John's drop-ice grated, just checking vitals. He'd quip, eyes flicking to me with unspoken challenge. One evening, Nathan asleep, John lingered on the steps. "He almost died for you," he said softly. "Don't break him. Like you'd know love?" I shot back, venom sweet on tongue. His face crumpled. "I loved him first. Watched him bury it for his old man. For the job. You're the spark, Jamie, but sparks burn out." He left, but the ember ignited, confrontation brewed, volatile as the spring tides. May bloomed treacherous, swells fattening, tourists flocking like lemmings. Nathan resumed light duty, me shadowing patrols, sketching the ballet of rescue drills, bodies slicing water, lines taut. John kept distance, professional chill, but tension simmered, unspoken accusations in every briefing. The betrayal detonated on a sweltering Saturday. I'd hiked to the tower midshift, bearing lunch, turkey wraps, his favorite. Climbed the ladder, calling up, but found silence. Peered over the rail, Nathan and John, locked in the shadowed catwalk, mouths fused in a kiss that shattered worlds. Desperate, hands fisting shirts, bodies pressed urgent against the rail. John's fingers tangled in Nathan's hair, Nathan's groan audible over gulls, a sound I'd claimed as mine. Time fractured, teetered, lunch bag slipping to plummet sandward, the thud lost in surf. Betrayal roared, hot and blinding. I descended in a daze, feet numb on rungs, world tilting. They didn't see me, too lost in their reclamation. But John's eyes snapped open as I turned, guilt flashing before I bolted down the beach, tears blurring dunes. The motel room became bunker, door bolted, phone silenced, sketches shredded in the sink, burning like effigies. Nathan's knocks came at dusk. "Jamie, open up, please." Voice wrecked, pleading. I cracked the door, chain taut. "How long?" I demanded, voice steel despite the quake. His face crumpled, rain slick from the sprint. "Not. It's not what?" "Bullshit." I yanked the chain free, pulling him in, fury fueling. "I saw you and him." Again, he collapsed onto the bed, head in hands. "Once. After the crash. I was scared, Jamie. Thought we'd die, and I hadn't fixed things. John was there, always is. It was comfort. Stupid. Comfort." Laughter barked, jagged. "That's what you call fucking your best friend?" While I'm bandaging my ribs, dreaming of forever, tears tracked his stubble. "I love you. This us is real. John's habit. Old skin I can't shed." The admission gutted. Not a lapse, but a pattern, woven deep. "You chose him," I whispered. "Every time doubt creeps, you run to safe harbor." "No!" He lunged, gripping my arms, eyes wild. "I choose you. Fight for us. Please." We argued till stars wheeled, words weapons. My jealousy a mirror to his fears, his infidelity the scar of paternal rejection. Dawn found us spent, tangled in impotent rage. His whispers, "I'll end it. Quit the crew if I have to," hollow echoes. But fracture deepened. John confronted next patrol, cornering Nathan at the tower base. I watched from afar, binoculars cruel witness. Shouts escalating, John's face twisted. "You coward!" Stringing us both. Nathan shoving him back. "Stay away." Fists flew. John landed a haymaker, splitting Nathan's lip, blood blooming red on sand. Nathan drove to the motel, ice pressed to swelling jaw, ice feral. "It's done." Told him we're through, friends, crew, everything. For you. Relief warred with wreckage. I pulled him inside, kissing the bruise, bodies seeking solace in familiar rhythm. But trust was flotsam, scattered. Dad's passing came swift. June solstice. Sun mocking grief as we buried him in the family plot. Earth redolent of jasmine. Nathan stood stoic at my side, hand in mine, whispering, "I'm here." Mom hugged him fierce, like a son, and in that cemetery hush, amid headstones etched with regrets, I glimpsed redemption, love as witness, not savior. Back on the coast, summer peaked, heat mirage shimmering. Nathan distanced from John, patrol solo, but isolation festered. Nightmares of the crash, Dad's ghost, my recriminations. "Am I redeemable?" he asked one midnight, moon-silvered on the cot. "Yes," I lied, heart aching, because love demands faith, even in ruins. The climax crested with the full moon tide, August supermoon pulling leviathans from the abyss. Warnings blared, king waves forecast, beach closed. But a storm front barreled in early, lightning forking, swells mounting to biblical fury. Nathan insisted on the tower. "Can't leave it unmanned." John volunteering backup. "Truce fragile." I begged him stay. "It's suicide," I pleaded, gripping his arm at the ladder's foot. Wind whipping. "Let the Coast Guard handle it. People count on me." he shouted over Gale. Go home, Jamie. Lock the door. He climbed. Red tank vanishing into tumult. John motoring out to buoy line. From the bluffs, I watched horror unfold. A rogue set reared, 40-foot walls green-black, slamming the tower. Pilings groaned. Nathan silhouetted clinging to rail, radio useless in static. John veered the boat, line snapping taut, but the wave hit, flipping vessel, tower shuddering as foam engulfed. Terror seized. I sprinted down, sand stinging, screaming his name into void. The tower listed, waves clawing foundations. Nathan scrambling down ladder slick with algae, one rung snapping under weight. He slipped, dangling by fingertips, abyss yawning below, churning maw that had claimed souls before. Jamie, his voice pierced storm, eyes locking mine across froth. Raw plea, love, fear, finality. John surfaced yards off, battling current, shouting useless. The world narrowed, his hand slipping, my heart fracturing. Betrayal forgotten, only this hymn, teetering on oblivion's edge. The tower's ladder groaned like a dying beast, rungs buckling under the sea's assault. Nathan's fingers white-knuckled on the fraying rope, body swinging pendulous over the cauldron below. Waves exploded against pilings, sending geysers skyward. Salt-lashed wind tearing screams from my throat as I splashed knee-deep, arms outstretched. Hold on, Nathan. Hold. His face, etched in lightning strobe, was a mask of agony. Lips split from John's punch still swollen, eyes wide with the animal terror of dissolution. Can't, Jamie. Go. The words ripped out, drowned by thundercrash, but his gaze anchored me, hazel depths pleading absolution in extremis. John thrashed closer, boat splintered flotsam, his shout a guttural roar. Nate, grab the line. He flung a rescue buoy, orange disc bobbing futile in the surge. But Nathan's grip faltered, one hand peeling free, body twisting in freefall tease. Time elasticated, heartbeats eternities. My mind flashing montage. First rescue, tequila kisses, bonfire confessions, betrayal's knife twist, all dissolving in this maelstrom moment. No! Primal. I lunged, current yanking like talons, fingers brushing his boot sole before he dropped. The splash was cataclysmic, foam swallowing him whole, tower shuddering in aftershock as I dove blind, lungs burning, world reduced to muffled roar and the singular prayer. Not him, not now. Underwater was Hades, kelp tentacles snaring, pressure crushing, but instinct propelled, surf lessons from him echoing. Streamline, kick hard, trust the flow. Bubbles marked his trail. I pursued, surfacing for air amid whitecaps, spotting blonde stubble flash before submersion. John paralleled, stroking parallel, his marine training a counterpoint. There, flotation, we converged on the breaker's edge, where the rip eased to shallows, Nathan's form bobbing limp, face down in the suds. Adrenaline fueled, we hauled him shoreward, John's arm under shoulders, mine at waist, waves pummeling like fists. Sand grated under knees as we dragged him clear, collapsing in heap, his chest still, lips blue-tinged. Pulse, check pulse, John barked, flipping him supine, water sluicing from slack mouth. I fumbled wrist, fingers numb, nothing. Nathan, breathe. God damn it. Panic clawed, but John shoved me aside, commencing CPR. Compressions rhythmic, breaths forced, ribs cracking under palms. Come on, brother, fight. Seconds stretched infinities. Sirens wailed distant. Coast Guard chopper thumping air. I clutched his hand, cold as abalone, whispering litanies. You saved me once. My turn. Wake up. John's eyes met mine over the tableau. Enmity evaporated. Shared desperation forging fragile alliance. 1 compression. 2. Then cough. Guttural. Seawater spewing in arc. Nathan convulsing. Gasping ragged. Attaboy, John murmured, rolling him to side as paramedics swarmed. Oxygen mask hissing life. I clung to the fringes, trembling, as they stretchered him to ambulance. John riding along, me tailing in the rental, whirled a smear of red lights and rain-slicked blacktop. Hospital vigil was purgatory redux. Sterile waits, coffee vending sludge, John's shoulder bumping mine in the hall. He'll pull through, he said, voice gravel. Stubborn fucker. No accusations. Just exhaustion, the kiss, the fight, reduced to irrelevance in face of mortality. Doctors emerged at dawn. Broken ribs, hypothermia, near-drowning pneumonia brewing, but stable. Tough one, the ER doc said, clapping my back. Brought him in yourselves? Heroes. We entered the room. Nathan pale under fluorescence. IVs threading arms. Monitors beeping steady. His eyes fluttered. Finding mine first, relief flooding. Tears spilling. Jamie. Thought that was it. Voice reedy, but alive. I sank to the bed edge, kissing his knuckles. Salt lingering. Never. Not without a fight. John hovered doorway. Awkward third. Good call on the buoy, Nathan rasped, managing half grin. Oh, you. John nodded, throat working. We're square. Rest up, Captain. He glanced my way. Nod fractional, truce, tentative. Take care of him, then gone. Footsteps echoing judgment-free. Recovery blurred weeks. Nathan discharged to the trailer. Bedbound. Me playing nurse, soups, meds, readings from Kerouac to chase demons. John's visits were sparse. Professional. Shift handoffs. Gear drops. Conversations clipped but civil. No hard feelings? He asked once, handing over wetsuit. Water under the bridge, I replied, meaning it. Betrayal's scar remained, but survival reframed it, love not ownership, but choice, repeated. Nathan mended slow, nightmares plaguing, drowning dreams, Dad's ghost, John's phantom touch. I almost lost you twice, he confessed one stormy eve, thunder rumbling sympathy. The crash, the wave. And I nearly lost us first. I traced his anchor tattoo, faded now. You didn't. But we rebuild honest. No secrets. He nodded, pulling me close. John's out. For good. And therapy starting next week. For me. For us. Vulnerability cracked him open. Beautiful in breakage. Fall gilded the coast. Leaves turning madrona red. Tourists thinning to locals. Dad's ashes scattered in the Sierra. Mom finding solace in grief group. Her hug at the airport fierce. He loved you fierce, Jamie. Like this one does. Pointing to Nathan. Waiting curbside. We drove home windows down. Dylan crooning tangled up in blue. Nathan's hand laced mine. Marry me? He asked at the bluffs. Sunset bleeding the sky. Ring a simple silver band etched with waves. Promise, not possession. Tears pricked. Yes, but slow. We're not rushing the tide. Winter brought quiet revolutions. Nathan scaling back patrols, eyeing that charter boat dream, me pitching graphic novel to an indie press. Our story's bones, love's tempests, redemption's raw. John transferred crews north to Half Moon Bay, farewell beer at the dive bittersweet. You two are endgame, he toasted, eyes clear. Deserve it. No kiss goodbye, just clasp brothers in survival. Spring equinox, 1 year post tower. We stood at the rebuilt watchpost, reinforced steel, memorial plaque for the lost kid etched base. Waves lap gentle, gulls wheeling benediction. Nathan's arm circled my waist, chin on shoulder. Question everything, he murmured, echoing my old fears. But never us. I leaned back, anchored. Never, the ocean whispered assent. Eternal, unforgiving, but in its vastness, we'd carved harbor, human, flawed, enduring. Love, not as fairy tale, but odyssey. Storms weathered, betrayals bridged, hearts mended in salt and sun. Breathless still, but breathing together into whatever breakers lay ahead. In the end, it wasn't happily ever after, but wholly human, messy, miraculous, ours.